Hello there, my name is Klein and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing something different. I'm going to be looking at someone else's gameplay. More specifically, we're going to take a look at the highest champion mastery Vladimir player on the EUS server with almost 5 million mastery points on Vladimir. Now, to my surprise, this Vladimir player plays Vladimir in the top lane, not in the mid lane. And since I'm mainly a mid lane Vladimir main, I'm very curious to see what he's going to do with Vladimir and how he's going to pull him off in the top lane. Now, I haven't looked at the KDA of this game. I randomly took a game. I basically blindfolded myself to make sure that I didn't see anything because I don't want to spoil myself as well, because I want to have the complete new experience just as you guys. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm really curious what this is going to bring us, like what this matchup is going to bring us, because we're playing Vladimir into Renekton. Okay, so we're currently in the lane. Also, let me quickly look. What is the current setup that Vladimir has? Because obviously we're playing Vladimir, we're playing him in the top lane. Maybe he's doing something different that most people don't do. So let's look what setup he's going. So currently he's going Ghost Flash, just the standard setup for team fights. This is obviously the best setup and the most versatile setup for team fights, for scaling, for carrying. So nothing special in that department. Personally, when I go top lane, I like to go something more aggressive, more like lane oriented, like Ignite Ghost, but this player still goes for Ghost Flash. In terms of runes, also nothing too special, just a standard scaling setup. Again, when I'm playing top lane, I would go something more lane oriented, like in Sums, Ghost Ignite, and then in like in runes, something like Airy Scourge or Conqueror or Phase Switch with Resolve, and then Scourge as well instead of Gathering Storm. So I would go a little bit more lane oriented, but this player currently goes for full teamfight domination and doesn't really play for lane. At least that's what I can see based on his summoner spells and rune page. But let's look at the actual gameplay. All right. He's not looking to push too aggressively here, just taking it slow. This is also really good because into Renekton, like, you don't have to push early on because he's melee your range, so you will have the push pressure anyway. So all you should do is last hitting, so this is just okay. Nothing too special here. He hits level 2 and doesn't really look to abuse it. He also levels Pool, which is a little bit weird. Like, especially because like it's warded here on the minimap. Renekton goes for a trade. Let's see. Okay, so far he's just slow pushing. He's just looking to, like, he should be a little bit more aggressive. Yeah. He should be fine in terms of ganks. Renekton is really low. He has Ghost up. I would definitely look to dive this already. So here I would look to poke with Q, with auto attack, like auto attack Q. Yeah, he has his bone plating. Again, I wouldn't walk back here. I would constantly walk up and trade with auto attacks because you're looking to trade here. The Renekton doesn't have teleport, so if he misses this entire wave, his game is done. So let me pause here real quick. Imagine right now that you would have Ghost Ignite. If you have Ghost Ignite with Airy Scourge right now, you just dive this Renekton for free. And since Renekton doesn't have teleport, he would miss the entire wave. And that means that his laning phase would kind of be over. So let's get started again. Here I wouldn't typically start pushing unless you're looking to dive again, right? So right now we see that Nocturne is here, so I would indeed start pushing here to look to dive this Renekton. Otherwise, what you could do is, since a laning would be like right now, if you just let the wave go to you, it's going to go into the middle. And since Renekton is going to play safe and you're going to last hit minions, you're automatically going to be pushing towards him, which is not what you want if you don't like want to dive him. Because then he's just getting free CS under his turret because you won't dive him. Right. So what you could do, let's say you don't want to dive him here, like let's say Nocturne wasn't here, then what you could do is you could just hold the wave here, just tank it a little bit, and then walk away. Then it's going to push towards you. Right. But in this situation, obviously, since Nocturne is here, this is a free dive. Also knowing that Viego is plotting to bot side, so this should be a very free dive with no resistance. So obviously the push here is the best, but I quickly wanted to clarify this. So let's play it. Okay, not looking to dive. He's baiting the Renekton. I don't know why Renekton is getting like falling for that. I don't know why he's engaging. The Vladimir played it. I don't know why the camera keeps on moving, but the Vladimir played it really, really like ballsy, I would say. I would have played it a little bit safer. But everything is fine. The wave is pushed in, so we can fast forward this a little bit. The wave is pushed in, so now it's going to push back towards the Vladimir. And what do we pick up on the first buy? We pick up Dark Seal. All right. Let's see. Okay, so here on this wave, you don't want to be playing, like, here you have two options. You either just let it crash, because if you, like, get really low, he can dive you, and then you lose this entire wave, which is not what you want, especially when you don't have teleport. But ultimately, you could try to freeze this wave, but in this scenario, obviously you can't. The wave is way too big, Renekton is looking to push it in, your wave is only here, so you have to tank it for a very long time. It's not possible. But let's say that Renekton was like walking like this, or you were in lane a little bit quicker, so you could trim the wave a little bit quicker, then obviously you can look to freeze. In this scenario, that's not an option right now. Okay. Our spacing, like the spacing is not that good, I would say right now of the Vladimir. It could be a bit better. He's making it very easy for Renekton to like hit him. Here again, we just walk in it, we pull a little bit too late. Also, I would never pull that. Because now you can't really play the game for 17 seconds. Alright. We see that Viego is topside because he popped like a ward. So Viego should be topside. So Vladimir should definitely not be walking up like this and hovering here. This is really dangerous. Yeah, this is better positioning. Positioning on the opposite side of the river, basically. It's really important right now that Vladimir slow pushes this. For the people who don't know, let me quickly clarify this. So what if Vladimir here just started fast pushing, then he would really like get on this side of the map really quickly and only with like 4 or 5 minions. Renekton can easily freeze that, right? And then Vladimir is in a really bad spot. But if he like slow pushes and builds a big wave, by the time he's here, he's going to have a very big wave, and then it's going to be extremely difficult for Renekton to actually freeze. Also, just like before, if you get here with like a very big wave, you always have the option of diving your opponent, because if he dies, he loses a lot, right? So it gives you like multiple benefits. Also, if you have a big wave, you can take a good recall while your opponent is still stuck in lane farming. So a lot of good advantages. That's something I quickly wanted to clarify. But let's keep on playing. So again here, yeah, just poke him a little bit. We're taking too many third shots here. Again, the spacing is not that on point. Again, we get hit. I don't know why we don't immediately ult. We should have immediately ulted him. Yeah, so far what I see is the spacing on Vladimir is not that on point, and this is like a very key thing that you need to understand if you play top lane. You're going to face a lot more mechanical players than in the mid lane, I believe. So it's very important that your spacing is on point. That's a pretty good W. But again, the spacing, you see? And we actually die due to bad spacing. So we are out, we activate Ghost, and we just walk into him again, not properly spacing. For the people who don't know what spacing is, it's maybe quite important that I mention it. But it's basically like always like trying to maximize the distance between you and your opponent, right? Trying to have maximum range between you and your opponent while still being in range to bully your opponent, to like attack him. Especially important against melee champions like Renekton, who have a lot of burst damage. You don't want to get into their range, but you want to get like they need to be in your range, but you can't be in their range, right? All right, let me play it out again. Another very curious thing. So we're going for the blasting wand. Now, I personally like, especially in like fistfight matchups like Renekton or in mid lane like Yasuo, Sylas, I like to go Fiendish Codex early on because it also gives you ability haste, which makes it easier to like sustain with your Q. Again, not proper spacing. And these fights here, these fights that you're currently watching, they would be so much easier when you go something like Conqueror, like a little bit more of a fist-fighting rune. And since you're top lane, you're not looking to roam that much anyway, I would go something more lane-oriented, and it would be so much easier to fist-fight this Renekton right now. Alright, Renekton is trying to hold the wave. Okay, so again, spacing issue. So mainly what I see, spacing issue. Let's see how this goes. Alright. So far, what I've seen from this Vladimir player at this point, it's basically that his spacing is not that good, right? But I wouldn't say that's more of a like, that's like not really a Vladimir specific issue. That's more like just a Diamond specific issue, I suppose. And second of all, I would say that his setup is maybe not the best, which is a bit weird for a person who has like almost 5 million mastery points. I would suppose that he goes something a bit more fistfight heavy into Renekton matchup, something a little bit less scaling, because we're obviously playing in top lane, and in top lane you really want to make sure that you're not losing the matchup really, really hard, because it can snowball so out of control if you lose it hard. So it's really important that that doesn't happen. Okay. We can look to shove, Renekton recalled, so you can either look to slow push or fast push. I would personally also fast push, because this would definitely crash 100%. I don't know why we're currently recalling. I would not have recalled here, I would have like looked to put a deep ward. Yeah, so he recalls for basically nothing, for like a control ward and like one amplifying tome, if I'm not mistaken. So I would not really have done that. I would have just looked for deep ward or maybe hover mid lane, stuff like that. That's what I personally would have done. The team is doing great though. Like the team is 5-2. It looks like our bot lane is winning, our jungle matchup is winning. But top lane is going relatively poorly here. And it's even harder to win this matchup right now if you go something like this, like full damage, no ability haste, so basically no self-peel in terms of like lower Q cooldown. So that makes it a lot harder. I would definitely go with something like Ionian Boots or Fiendish Codex here in this matchup to make it a bit easier, especially when you're losing. But that's kind of what I expected to see from a top lane Vladimir main, going a little bit more ability haste oriented rather than pure damage oriented. They're again not spacing properly. We use the phase rush to just get out, but we can play around with that. We have phase rush movement speed, we have red Q movement speed. We can play around with that. So currently I'm not that impressed. I'm not trying to like be very negative on this player, but I'm not that impressed right now. This is a good pull. I like that. Again, with phase rush, immediately walking away, like give yourself a bit of room to play with the Renekton here. You don't have to immediately walk away. Just walk out, but stay in range to like still go in again, right? Because he's melee, you're ranged. Due to your movement speed advantage, you can play around with him, right? Alright. Again, I'm not a fan of the spacing here. We have to be extremely careful right now. Renekton has flash, we don't have pull. The second we walk up without pull, we're probably dead, or we should be dead. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. So there, just, I believe that was not really a mistake. Let me teach you guys something really important here. So there you could say, well, yeah, if you're in game, it's really hard to react to that. No, it's not. It's not. Yes, things are or can be quite hard to react to if you don't expect them. right? This is the key behind like having good reaction times, even though you're not the best mechanical player. It's by thinking of what might happen. It's about expecting things. And if you expect them, then you can react to them because you expected it in the first place. Now when your enemy does it, since you already expected it, you immediately go flash because your finger was on the flash button, knowing that he could be there, or your finger was on the pull button, knowing that he could flash onto you, stuff like that, because you were already expecting it. Currently, to me, this shows that this Vladimir wasn't thinking of the Renekton flash. These are things that you want to talk about and that you want to think about. But more specifically, especially in the top lane, you're going to face things like this. You're going to die a lot less in mid lane like this, with people flashing onto you and like being quite mechanical. That's not going to happen too much in in the mid lane. But in top lane, you're playing versus a lot more mechanical players because this entire lane is about snowballing individually and outplaying your opponent mechanically. That's not always the case in mid lane. So if you're playing Vladimir in this top lane, what I expected was a Vladimir player, especially with this much mastery points, that's very mechanical, very good at spacing, has the perfect setup, expects these flashes, is used to those mechanics, but I'm currently not really seeing a lot of that. This could also be, keep in mind, because I definitely don't want to be too negative, because we all have bad games. I don't know in what, like this was just solo queue game, a random game. I don't know if this was like a for fun game or if he was like taking it seriously or not. This is just a random game that we're looking at. So this is one moment. This does probably not represent the entire player, but obviously we have to take one game as a sample to look at it. But at this point, if we look, Valen's face is going to be quite hard here because he's already sitting on Mythic. Also, what I don't like in this build, well, first of all, there's a lot I don't like. Going full damage here is something I don't like. I typically like to go a bit more ability haste oriented. But I also don't like the Oblivion Orb, especially when you're behind. I don't feel like Oblivion Orb is a good buy on Vladimir. It's like almost never a good buy. I would only say like if the enemy team is like full healing, but like even then, I don't believe like it's a good item for Vladimir specifically, and your teammates should rather buy it. So yeah. Here as well, it's quite important that the Vladimir also puts wards on the map, or like vision, right? Going this deep without having any vision, it's really, really scary, especially when you're behind. 0-3 is bad, but we can still like recover from this. We're a very scaling champion. But 0-3 is like on the border of like, you're still mentally sane and you're still like not that tilted and you can still play and it's like still playable the game. But if you right now keep on dying, it can easily become to a FF game where your mental gets completely destroyed and you completely give up. So now it's about the fundamentals, putting up vision, right? Making sure you don't die, playing it a little bit more safe, stuff like that. Don't just keep on fighting your opponent. Don't keep on falling for the same mistakes. If your spacing isn't that good, just play a bit more safe, right? Stuff like that. So we're going to look at how he goes about it. Yeah, so exactly when I say it, there's a Thresh, and that gets there. Now we have to Ghost Flash, and this is really bad. This is really bad. It's obviously better than like dying. I don't even know, to be honest. But we're already behind, so we're looking to make like a comeback play. The comeback play would be like shutting down Renekton, for example, when maybe Talon and Bart like roam to top lane, for example, when you can collapse this Renekton. Getting that shut down could get you back into the game. But now having to use Ghost Flash, this or like Flash, this makes it really, really hard right now to make a play. And you're going to have to wait like about like 4 minutes to have that flash up again to make that crazy play to come back into the game. And that's just rough, right? And this is all because we didn't ward, we didn't pay attention to the fact that the enemy support might be roaming, so stuff like that. So we have to be really careful. Now I didn't really pay attention to where Thresh went, but he could still be in one of these brushes, so we still have to be very careful, right? He could have walked away, I didn't pay attention. But I would be very careful as for Vladimir, just consider that Thresh might still be top. He does that, he puts a ward. Let's see. I don't know why the camera keeps on jumping, but... Yeah, it's these moments where like Bard gets there and you want to be able to force something, but if you don't have Ghost or you don't have Flash, then it becomes really, really hard, right? So So right now Renekton is looking to roam towards the mid side of the map. I don't know what he's going to do. Probably setting up some vision, clearing some vision. And Vladimir can't really do a lot right now. He's more like undergoing the laning phase right now. Again, no proper spacing, but it's a good bait since the teammates are here. So as long as he doesn't die, it's actually fine. Alright, this is really good. The teammates get the shutdown. Ideally, Vladimir gets the shutdown, but it is what it is. And now we just shove this in and we recall. Okay, so the Vladimir overstays here. I don't like this, right? What I like to see from this play is, okay, Renekton is dead, but we can, and we didn't get the shutdown, but we can get some tempo out of this. What I would do personally is, since top lane is really, really hard to play anyway, I would right now, like against the Renekton, I would right now just take a recall, spend my gold that I have on items, go to Dragon. That's what I would do with my team. It's currently 7-6. Our Talon got a huge shutdown. If this guy manages to recall before the Dragon, if we join him there on the Dragon fight, we can perhaps get like something like kill almost the entire team. And that is like good enough to like start snowballing this game out of control for our team. And then we can go back to the side lane again. But as a top laner, it's very, very hard to get this impact. And around the dragons, you typically want to play around them. Now, especially if you don't have teleport, you're going to have to do stuff like going there even though you don't have teleport. And then you want to look for those great opportunities. This right now is a great opportunity. The only reason why you could stay here, but it's still dangerous because Viego could be here, for example. But the only reason why you could stay here is to catch this next wave that's about here. If I show you guys, you can catch this wave here really fast, then recall and then go to Dragon. That buys you even a little bit more time to go to Dragon, right? But I would probably already immediately recall, go to Dragon, prepare something. Because by the time, like you typically don't want to maximize the time that you're here, because by that time, especially in like Diamond Elo, people will already get picked. So the quicker you can recall here and spend your items, go to Dragon, the quicker you're here to pick off the enemies instead of the enemy team picking off your team. That's what I would do right now as a Vladimir, as a way to find basically like some gold to get back into this game. I think that's going to be a great play. Now let's see what the Vladimir does. I don't believe he does that. Okay, he does go for the wave. That's really interesting. So let's see. Something mid lane is happening. This is what I was talking about. Like the more you maximize your time here, the more the enemy team gets time to pick somebody off. This is exactly what I mean. Like I said, I would have told my talent to recall, spend gold before Dragon. Hopefully you would have listened, and I would have recalled myself going to Dragon here as well. Now Vladimir goes here, but Talon is dead, so we're going to have a hard time fighting this. So right now, I would probably not move to this fight here. I would probably not move here, knowing that Talon is dead and that this might be a little bit difficult. But let's see what Vladimir gets out of this. Okay, looks like the team wins. Okay, it's actually going to be crucial that Vladimir is here, so it's a pretty good call. I personally wouldn't have done it. Alright, we did lose a lot in the top lane though, so again, I wouldn't have done it, because this was not a guaranteed dragon in my eyes, especially with Talon being dead, so I would not have moved, also knowing that we'll lose a lot here. Right. Now, Talon ideally should have walked towards here to defend this, but it's diamond, so it doesn't happen, so now Renekton is going to get a lot of gold here, and we just decide to stay here in the bot lane, so let's see what we do. Okay, so the Vladimir shoved in the wave, so he's looking to do something mid lane here, hover the team maybe. I don't know what we're doing here, we're walking into 3 people, when the team is obviously backing off. So again, there's some like really misconceptions. I don't know if this is like a typical game that he plays, or if he's maybe not focused, but I'm just feeling like there's lack of like knowing the all-in potential of enemies, not spacing well enough, always playing very, very linear. He's not looking to like dodge a lot. He's not looking to like bait out a lot of abilities and like play patiently. The Vladimir rushes everything in terms of mobility, right? Get from point A to B as quickly as possible. I feel like that's his mentality. Whereas it should be, while you're going from point A to point B, you should be thinking about baiting out abilities. You should be thinking about dodging abilities, like predicting that people will throw abilities at you, stuff like that, right? So it's about like thinking about the game while you're moving. That's really, really important. Right? Always be aware. Your map awareness combined with, okay, I see something on a map, I'm going to try predict that this could happen, and now I'm going to translate that towards my movement. Right? That's what I feel this Vladimir lacks a lot at. But let's see if we can still turn this game around. We're currently 1-4 with not that ideal build in my opinion as well. If you're behind and you go like rocket belt, it takes so long before you get online. And especially if you build stuff like Oblivion Orb in between, it takes even longer before you go online. Like before you become like really valuable in the team, a lot like very strong, right? So he's delaying, even though he's behind, he's trying to delay his power spikes like as long as possible, which doesn't make sense in my opinion, right? I would want to get even quicker into the game. So I would go probably Night Harvester, not go Oblivion Orb. And also Night Harvester is great for the early ability haste that it gives you, especially when you're playing in top lane and fistfight heavy matchups where you need ability haste. So I'm not that fan of a build. The setup is ultimately fine, it's like really scaling, but I'm also not that fan of it. I would go a bit more lane oriented, at least go like Scorch instead of Gathering Storm and like Resolve Tree. Or like Precision Tree with Last Stand and, for example, Triumph. But there's a lot of like small niche things that this Vladimir play is not doing in terms of, or like fundamental things even in terms of setup, builds, summoner spells, spacing. So I was expecting a little bit more. Could be just this wasn't his game, right? I don't know. But obviously I can't make this a 10-hour video, so we're only going to be looking at one game here, this game. But feel free to check this guy out, check out his other games. I'm sure he's going to have better games as well. But currently I'm not that impressed, right? I'm not that impressed. So the entire enemy team is basically on the top side of the map. This allows the Vladimir to like go a little bit deeper here and shove out another wave. This is exactly what I would do as well. But at this point, we should also start like understanding. I wouldn't keep on going here. That's one. But at this point, you have to start understanding, if you're the Vladimir in this case, farming is not going to cut it. You're 1-4 right now, and yes, you're a scaling champion. But farming is going to, like, obviously you need to farm. You need to keep up your CS. But like constantly farming and going like super hard on the farming department right now isn't that smart. Right? I would rather group a little bit more with my teammates to get that extra kill, to get that shutdown, to get the game rolling, and then I would look to side lane. Because typically when you're really this behind, it's almost impossible to scale through the game and scale in time before the enemy team can basically kill your nexus, right? And if you want to do that, if you want to double down on the CS, it's very important that you group, that you make a couple of like group plays with your team to get the game rolling. And now you have like a little bit more time, a little bit more like luxury to go side laning because the game is already in like a good state for your team, which is not the case right now, right? So that's why right now I would look for those plays, look for those opportunities, and then double down on the farming. Shoving out this wafer is great, but overextending is not. I would back off here and once again look to hover mid, look to force something, look if you can get a pick, like not force something, but look if you can get a pick. Stuff like that, instead of like going super hard on the farming department here, not getting out of the side lane. That's not what I would do right now. So let's see. So we see like a lot of people, I feel like this would be like a great flanking opportunity, or like just in general a good opportunity, like if we would have gone like this, especially with Nocturne is also a very good flanker, and especially with Talon. Like your team comp, like this right now to me is shouting that your teammates want to do something and that a fight is going to happen whether you like it or not. You see two assassin champions trying to flank, you see the enemy team overextended, very grouped. This shows you that there's like a very great opportunity for you to like go for a flank angle, and we're actively deciding not to do that, or maybe not paying attention. I don't know what it is, but I would definitely have gone for that. You don't have to commit when you're there, but at least you can see what you can do, right? It's about finding those opportunities, getting the game rolling, stuff like that. That's exactly what I mean here. So I feel like right now there's a lot of tokens, a lot of signs that this could be great play, and we're choosing not to do that, even though we're very behind. And that's not something I personally would do. So let's see. Yes, I believe personally, if I currently see this, I believe that if Vladimir would be here, this would be like an insanely good play. Right? This would be like a ridiculously good play. On top of that, this is also a very valuable point. If you go like here in the side lane, you're bound to face a Renekton, and we can't deal with Renekton anyway. We've been struggling against him all game long, so why would you try to fight him at that point? I would just look for these opportunities if they arise, rather than trying to match the Renekton in the side lane. Right? So just shove out the wave and move, but don't overextend and do this type of stuff. Let's see. Yeah, and now we get caught, right? So again, these are the type of plays that I never would go for. Not really. I expected a little bit more from the Vladimir player, but I believe at this point he might also be tilted. It might be a combination of factors. Like I said, this is not a representation of the entire player. You can't like use one game as your like basically deciding factor to judge this player on. But it's still interesting to see, and personally, this game is disappointing me quite a bit. Now at this point, we are 1-5, Baron is up, we're forced to go on the bot side of the map here. The game feels out of our hands. So right now the game is out of your hands. If you're the Vladimir player, the game is out of your hands, 100%. I believe you're more of a victim of the game right now. You have to undergo it, you have to go through the motions and hope that you can play around your team. But since we didn't, like when our team was doing good, we didn't really play around them. We decided to double down on the farming. And because of that, your team is not like steamrolling the enemy team right now, which makes it even harder to farm in the side lane right now, because now they're doing even worse than before when it was also already hard to farm, right? So, and now these type of fights happen, and it's really hard for your team to do something. Also, I would have liked to be here. I would have liked to shove in one wave and again, move. I would not be looking right now to keep on farming. You're 1-5. You're behind in level on the Renekton, on the enemy mid laner even. You're the same level of the enemy ADC. You're not going to get back into the game with just the small gold injections of farm. Farming is important, but it's more about shoving in waves, looking what you can do with your team at this point to get back into the game. Because you need big gold injections like the shutdown, for example. Right? That is my approach to it, especially when I'm behind. Also, these fights, like I typically would even be more inclined to join these fights because you have a Talon and a Nocturne. Obviously, this was kind of int, but if you're there with Talon before like this entire fight happens, you can probably force something because you have two champions who are really good at forcing, and you're obviously Vladimir, so you're still valuable in team fights with your big AoE damage. But again, we choose to not go for all of that. We choose to not play around our team comp and play around our strengths to get the game rolling again. We're choosing to, once again, try to match the Renekton in the side lane, which is again not my not what I would do personally. So we can't really do a lot here. It's just undergoing the game, and then you just have to look for those plays, playing around your strengths with the team. Or you have a Nocturne and Talon, look to make picks, for example, right? Join your team in getting picks, shove out 1 or 2 waves instead of like shoving out the entire laning phase, the entire lane and try to match your Renekton. Let's not do that. Right? Let's shove out 1 or 2 waves and then match your team. Now, when you can't do anything about this Baron, now we look to move. And now we try to give this turret to Renekton. Yes, Ophelia should be here, but actually we should already be here because the fact, like, it's very unrealistic that you can force a play here, right? I also don't know why they're walking away like this. They could just like walk away like this as a team and recall here. So it's quite unrealistic to get something done here. So instead, just defend this turret. We should have already moved, and now we move way too late. So that's kind of an issue here. Yeah, and now we try to force something, again, very, very, very rushed, right? There's no thinking through it. We're just rushing everything, and this player at this point might just be tilted. But that is what I'm seeing right now. I can only say what I'm seeing. And we're rushing a lot of things. From the beginning of the game, always rushing movement, rushing certain abilities, not thinking everything through. It's about taking extra steps when you approach a fight. Don't just walk in. Think about it. Play around with them. Don't just engage. Act like you engage. Back out, right? Play around with the enemy team. Look for creative angles. That's what I would like to do. All right, and now we're dead. There's no, like, we can't join a dragon fight. So now going here right now is going to be extremely difficult. It's going to be extremely difficult to contest this, especially when you have Baron. You walk into no vision. So should you contest this? No. Would I go here? Yes. So let me quickly talk about that. I wouldn't go here to contest a dragon because that's just not an option. But I would go here because we're still in the diamond game. Our teammates are probably going to try and like contest this, or at least be in the vicinity like you're seeing right now. They're going to get picked off, but that also means the enemies are probably also not going to be that great, right? They're also going to make mistakes. So what is your best shot right now to close this like almost 7k gold cap? It's not farming, it's getting shutdowns. 300 gold shutdown, 500 gold shutdown. It's getting those shutdowns. How are you going to get those shutdowns if you're 1-6? You're not going to do it solo. You're going to need help from your team. And probably your entire team. So grouping is, in my opinion, right now, the best thing you could do rather than going top here for this wave. Right? It's a bit coin flippy, yes. But going top lane is, in my opinion, a lot more coin flippy because then you're basically saying to yourself, well, the chance that I get back into this game purely based on farming is higher than when I can get like a shutdown here. Right? Your team is even, like, the team is even shutdowning the enemy team right now. So if we would go there, I believe that would have been the best call. So that's what I would have done. That's just my mentality. Obviously, I'm also not going to make every single play like perfectly. I'm not going to do every single play perfectly. But that's how I would approach this game. I'm giving you guys a lot of my thoughts to see, just to show you, to give an idea of how I would approach the game instead of what the Vladimir is currently doing. So far, there's not that many similarities that I see between me and this Vladimir player. I expected to see like a little bit more similarities, at least like in terms of fundamentals, and some more creative things as well with this Vladimir player, but so far I haven't seen that much creativity or crazy limits, so I was expecting a bit more, but maybe we're still gonna get there. I doubt it, but let's see. All right, so we start realizing there's nothing we can do here. We're just gonna have to look. Like the fact that Ari was here right now is like great because that gives us a very small window to collapse on these guys, and a small window is all you need because you have a Talon and a Nocturne who are really good at moving fast and like using these small windows, right? So that's how you want to think about it right now. Oh, I can't match Ari, that's no problem. The fact that she's here gives you an opportunity to collapse mid lane, for example. Okay, let's see. Okay, so one, I would not have flashed like that immediately. I don't think it's necessary. So I shouldn't have done it. So he shouldn't have done it. Two, when walking away, I wouldn't have walked away from my teammates. I would have walked towards my teammates through the portal and we probably would have escaped. Right? Or even stay here and do something with Nocturne. I would have just walked away in the same direction of my teammates. Right? That gives you more safety than walking away like this. Right, so that's not something I would have done personally. But ultimately going for this fight, I believe, was a great idea. We end up losing it. We also didn't play it perfectly, but I would go for these fights anyway. Because if you don't do it, yes, you might lose, like you just said, like you just saw. But if you win it, you might actually win the game. Whereas if you go farm, you're not going to win the game. Whether you take 1 or 2 or 3 waves, it's not going to matter. Right? We need very big gold injections. And these are the only plays that you can make to do that. Right. Okay, let me quickly, so we're fast forwarding this and let's see. Right now we're just trying to defend the base. I doubt that this game is going to be winnable, but we're going to see. This is quite dangerous. I wouldn't go this far out of my base right now. I again would look to group with my team. Because right now you have to think of it like this. 25 minutes, the enemy team has about like almost a 10k gold cap. If one person right now gets killed on your team, you're not going to be able to defend. Even if you're 5 people here, you're probably not going to be able to defend. So if one person gets picked, it's just game over. I wouldn't risk getting picked myself by overextending this much, by getting away from my team. And I wouldn't want to risk my team getting picked off because I'm also not there. So again, grouping here is in my opinion the best thing you could do. Going for these crooks, yes, I get the idea, it's gold income, but it's not going to save you anymore, right? It's right now about picks, it's about making sure the game doesn't end and not about hoarding as much gold as possible. Right? That stage of the game is over. The game is too far gone. It's about making picks. It's about, like, when the enemies make a mistake, you are there. You're not farming crux. No, you're right now. Your mentality should be, if the enemies make a mistake, I'm there to punish them for it. If you're doing crux, you're not going to be there. Right? This is not going to help you win the game. If you kill Varys and get a big shutdown, it might. Or if you kill somebody else and get a big shutdown, it might win you the game. Right? That is the mentality that the Vladimir player should have. That's the mentality that I'm currently missing. Alright, so let's take a look in the middle lane here, what's happening right now. So again, before we were here, the fight already happened, right? Now it's looking good from what I'm seeing currently. Right? It's a bit sad that Vladimir ult and Bart ult are going to hit at the same time, but it's looking relatively good here, what I'm seeing. But again, it was very like on the border of like the very limit of time, right? We got here really, really late when the fight already starts. Typically, you want to get here before the fight starts. Okay. But the fight looks good, like I said. And this is exactly what I was talking about. You don't want to go for crux, you don't want to go for these waves, you want to go for these plays, right? Now, we were able to take crux and get here in time. That's very, very lucky. But what if that wasn't the case, right? I wouldn't want to risk it over crux. Also, in games like this, what you can do is obviously buying a Magi, so upgrading your Dark Seal and Magi's. Now you might be like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Well, it does. Because Magi's is a very, very strong item, and if you can randomly stack it out of nowhere, you can quickly become very, very strong, and it's a very good tool to come back into games when it's very coin flippy that you're going to win, like in games where the enemy team has a very big lead and you need like miracles to make it happen. To like win the game. Magi's is an item, is a miracle item that can give you out of nowhere in a very quick amount of time a lot of damage, and yes, it's hard to stack it, especially when the enemies are fed, but it's like a miracle item that if you can stack it, it's really good and you can come back in games where without Magi's you would never be able to come back into them. Right, so this is in my opinion a Magi's game where I would have upgraded Magi's a bit earlier to get back into this game. But right now we're basically playing tower defense, base defense, however you want to call it. But it's about defending the base, it's about making sure the enemy team can't end, dragging this game out for as long as possible, killing the super minion waves, hoarding that gold, and obviously being there to pick off enemies when they make mistakes. So right now, again, I don't like being here. I like being here right now. Get these shutdowns. Talon gets a shutdown. That's great, but I want to get the shutdown. Right? That's the mentality that I want to have. So if you see people like that making mistakes with big shutdowns, you need to be there. If you're not there, they can make all the mistakes in the world. Right? Because you can't punish them. But at least killing this wave gives us a bit of time, like gives Vladimir here a bit of time together with his team to force other plays on the map, especially with Dragon coming up. So let's see. So they engage onto the Renekton. That's a flash on the Renekton here, which is good. The enemy team is probably doing Baron. Yes, they are. We can see it here. Yeah, so here as well, if you do this dragon, I believe in my opinion this is impossible. Because you should already have started it right now. Now it's too late. Like the team should have already started it. Like the second it spawned, they should have been here attacking it. Then they can potentially even like recall and base. But if you start it right now, the enemies, they don't even have to contest. They can just run mid lane and look to end. And by the time you guys recall, they probably just end. They already took a turret, now you can't defend anymore and they just end. Right. So in my opinion right now, this has already lost its objective. So it's about tower, defend, base, defend. Right, I like that the Vladimir is mid. I would be here as well. Right now I would look to hold these waves to make sure the enemy team doesn't end. And obviously this is a lot of gold. This is big gold injection, right? Soaking these waves up. Here what I would do, again, not just walk away and like save here. I would play here, behind this wall, and see if I can pick somebody off. We have a ward here, potentially even place a ward here before Varus got here. But stand behind this wall to see if I can pick somebody off over the wall. I wouldn't fully commit here, because if we die, it's quite, like, it's really, really sad. Because the teammates are doing pretty fine here. So maybe they can get dragon if we can defend. But if we die, then they have to recall and they can't get a dragon, even though they killed the enemy team. Right. So I would play safe, but I would look to go for a pick here. Like, over the wall. And if it doesn't, if they just keep on walking like this, I would just walk back like this and collect the wave, right? But always looking for those extra bits of like playing around vision, looking for those picks. It could be really, really good. Okay, we're trying to play front to back. This is a bit weird. Not playing around vision makes it really, really hard here. Luckily, you have Nocturne. All right. Yes, so you see, like this becomes really hard if you don't have your team. This is what I want. I want the Vladimir collapse onto people with his team just like this. But ultimately, the team should have just taken Dragon, and Vladimir and Talon should have hold these waves instead of like engaging. Like only if they could make a pick here, they should have like killed somebody because it's a pick. But otherwise, they shouldn't have engaged. They should have just like catch the waves, make sure Vladimir and Thresh couldn't enter. Then Talon and Nocturne and stuff like that, like those champions, they could go for the Dragon instead. Right. Alright, I assume the Vladimir has quite a lot of gold, 2.3k gold. He could put that into... Imagine if we didn't have Oblivion Orb right now. With the gold of Oblivion Orb and maybe like one more wave, we would be able to buy a full death cap. Right now, that's not going to be the case. Also here, again, shoving this wave, I don't like this. Very, very dangerous. Like, we want to be here. One pick here, one pick. And it could be game over. You might not be able to defend. That's all it takes, one pick, because the death timer is like really long at this point. So it's about not risking those things. What do we buy? What do we buy? Okay, we buy a Void Staff. So one Void Staff, no. Death Cap should be the option here. Is Void Staff that bad? It isn't. It isn't, but ultimately it's only the Varus who has one Wit's End, and we already have Shadow Flame. My build would have probably been here Night Harvester, Death Cap, and then Void Staff afterwards. That would have been quite a bit better, because right now we have a lot of Magic Pen and almost nobody has Magic Resist. Only the Varus a little bit. Right. So this doesn't make too much sense, this build, in my opinion. Also, they have like quite a tanky team here. Like Varus is quite tanky with this build. These two guys here, even Ahri, is very hard to kill in one go with the Everfrost HP that she gets and her movement speed in general, like her dashes. So going ability haste here would have been a little bit better with like Night Harvester, then go Death Cap, then go Void. That would have been a little bit better here. Because right now we are 30 minutes into game and we don't even have a Death Cap on the Vladimir. Which makes it really hard to carry at this point, right? So now it's going to be quite rough, but let's see what we can do. We're forcing something here. Again, rushing, like, don't rush too much, play safe, don't risk too much. It's not, this right now is not about finding the faker play. This is not about finding your moment where you smurf on the enemy team. This is how a lot of people would feel in this situation, but it's not. Right now, it's all about just fundamentals. Wait until the enemy team stacks. Look for angles. You don't go in if you don't find angles to like hit your ultimate on a 3-4 man. And especially Varus, right? You look for angles where you can hit a lot of people, preferably key people like Varus and Ari and Viego, right? People like that. And then you look to blow up like Varus. Like you look to continue doing damage on him with your Q and stuff like that. It's all about looking for plays, playing it safe, playing it slow, playing it patiently, playing it like you should play it, and not just looking for that flashy play, desynchronized from your team, like ghost flashing onto somebody, and now your team is not in range to do something, and you just get one-tapped. It's not about finding your crazy moment. It's about playing consistently, fundamentally, playing around your team, let them be bait, let the enemy team group, and then find those angles and ultimate. That's what you should do, not find your faker moment, all right? I'm going to go back on that, because we do get hit. So here again, the team disengages, and we're still here, right? So this is an easy pick for the enemy team. So now Viego should just back out. I don't believe he should go in, he should have backed out. Here, Vladimir already used his ultimate. So right now we don't have that much to offer in this fight, right? We don't have that much to offer. And I believe we haven't even hit Varus. Varus is still here, and we haven't even used ult like in a very good way here, right? So this again, rushing abilities. You're probably, even though this looks good, you're probably not going to win this. Because Varus is still full HP, still coming. Renekton's still full HP, Thresh still full HP. These guys have a lot of mobility, so you can just move out, bait the team in, and then everybody else collapses. And the Vladimir, the dude who needs to blow up the entire enemy backline, doesn't have ult anymore. And already doesn't have flash. So now it's going to be extremely hard. Vladimir is at this point basically just a minion. Can't do a lot anymore. So here we can't do that much. And now we're not going to win this. Right. So that is going to be the game. The enemy team is obviously going to finish from this. That was the game. It was not a great game. So let me quickly pause here. This was not a great game. Right. Let me first and foremost say that it's always easy to look at somebody's gameplay and say, oh, he's doing this wrong, he's doing that wrong. Right. Obviously, he did make a lot of mistakes, but it's not like it's always easy to criticize somebody. And this video was not made to be criticized. It was more out of curiosity, showing with my viewers what like a Vladimir player with a lot of mastery points, like the Vladimir player with the most mastery points on the server, on EOS server, plays, how he plays the game. It's like very curious to see that. So it's more out of curiosity that I want to talk about. It's definitely not because I want to criticize this play, because like I said before, I have never seen this game. I wanted to be like not spoiled. I wanted to be able to like see everything new just for as you guys, to make this like a very genuine, intuitive, authentic review. So let me quickly say that, right? He made quite a lot of mistakes, but this is also not a representation of all of his games, because we all have bad games, right? He wouldn't be Diamond 3 if he always goes 3-8, obviously. So this might be a tilted game. This might be a game where he wasn't focused at all, or maybe he wasn't feeling that good or whatever. But still thanks to this guy for like having this high mastery point so that we can review him. Definitely go check him out. You can probably learn a lot from him if you're like lower than Diamond 3 and you're looking to main Vladimir as well. So don't let this game be like, I also have bad games, and I will also have games where I play really, really bad. It happens, right? We're not going to judge ourselves on our worst games. We're going to judge ourselves on our average play. Right? That's what we're going to do. Because the average is how we play, is how we improve, is how we can consistently climb. That's how we're going to do it. But obviously, for the sake of this video, I had to look at one game, and I just took a random one, and that's that. Right. But thank you guys for watching so much. I really, really enjoyed doing this review. I'm going to let it play here until the end, until we see the Nexus explode, to make this a full review here. But thank you guys so much for watching, and if you're interested in Vladimir coaching, feel free to check out the link in the description down below. Thanks for watching. Bye.